welcome welcome to my website. Welcome to my doing this. Welcome to my website. Now if I run this again, see, this is an header tag. Welcome to my website. Let me change the text inside this. So see, undo. Hello world. See that? Hello world. Welcome to my website. So I want to style the body elements. I want to give the body element a styling, or changing the background color, not color. Not let's get to a better understanding of this. Body, right, indicates first of all you want to style an element inside the DOM, indicate the element you want to style, and then give it colon bracket. Then what property of styling do you want to apply? So let's say color, for example. Remember, color is going to affect the content inside. You can see every content inside automatically turn to red instead. So the body was not affected, but everything inside the body, the color changed to red. So that's not what I want. What I want is background color. That was just a demonstration. So background color, you can just click it. Background color, okay, blue. See that? Blue. Hello world, welcome to my website. So now let's type the H3. Okay, H3, or say now I want to increase the size of. All I have to do is to say font. You don't just come here right size. That is the keyword to increasing size. Font works it applies to different things. It applies to family. The family is like the way it is written, the display, the way you want it to display, the size is stretching. So in this case, font size should be 30 px. PS stands for P. So if you don't have this PS, it won't work. It's just going to be this. Wow, it's not supposed to work the same, but maybe they've included I don't know, it's not supposed to work, or maybe they've upgraded the feature that it already, even though you make a mistake, it automatically knows that there have to be pixel there and it corrects it for you, but it's not supposed to work due to previous versions. So 30 pixel, it says good you don't be familiar and follow that order. So one other thing I want to add, don't come and write to add in more properties to this element. To add in more style property to this element, you go to the next line. Don't carry this semicolon along, please. You are breaking that first one, then you start a new one. So the next property I want to add is I want to give it a position. I don't like the way it is right now. It's just at the the beginning. I don't want it to. So first, let me change the font family. I'll say, let me choose Siri. There are different one. That is one advantage. You can choose from different font family here. So you can choose one to see the difference. You can see where it is. If I'm to choose something else, here we are. It may look as though there's some difference, but I show you there's difference between them. So to make this hello world stay at the center. I can easily just say, wait, this is not working. Here we are. So I'll just say item text align. I'm looking for text align. Text align, then center. Indicator in center. So if I run this, you can see it works. It works. It's now at the center. So it's a good habit to give it a position of relative. We have, if I specify position where I want it to be, we have relative, we have absolute, we have several property attached position. We have a static, we have static, we have fixed, we have sticky, and they all have their different front work they do. So in this case, I want it to be relative. I'll explain what it does when we want to create a login. We want to create another element. So now to get rid of this, by the way, let me just get rid of it. Now let me say I've succeeded in moving it to the center, right? At the same in the same line, it only move from the left on the x-axis, so the y-axis was not affected. So I want it to be to move from the top to on the y-axis. To make it move on the y-axis, all I have to do is to say top and see. Oh, sorry, top. Let me see how many pixels. 20 pixel. 20 pixel from the top. If I run this, it won't work. Let me increase this to 200 pixel. That's supposed to be a lot, but it's still just where it is, 200 pixel. So why is it so? For to move an element in respect to the x and y axis, if it's in the y axis you say top, if it's in the x axis you say left. Oh sorry, undo this. Yeah, undo. You say left, right? So for this to work, you have to activate it, and to activate this you have to add this property called position. So you have to add this property called position, else it won't work. Now, to what kind of position do you want? Is it relative? Is it absolute? Is it sticky? Is it static? Is it fixed? Now we are going to choose relative. Relative means from the point which it is, move so distance. But if you say absolute, absolute means from the calculating from the exact top of your screen, the top of your screen, from that exact point, from 0 at the top of your screen, move all the way to that distance you specify. But relative, you say this is where it finds himself now. Maybe there are other elements above it, and maybe by his own normal or original location is a distance of, let me say, 20 or 50, maybe where it finds itself. The other element are taking those positions 0, 10, 15, and it finds itself in 20. So if you use relative, you are saying it should move. Now we are saying it should move 20 pixels from the top relatively. Position relative. So what you are saying from that point 50, which is on the y-axis, it should add what 20 to it. Can you see that? But if you say absolute, you are saying go back to 0 and move 20. So if there's any other element that was on 20 before, cover that element, stay on top him, overlay on him. That's what the difference between relative and position absolute. So let me use back that 200 and see where it's going to take us. It's going to move downwards, as you can see where it is now. Hello world. So I don't want that. Let's make 20. That's better. Let's do the same for h4. I'm just going to copy this, change the word h1. And this is what I like about using, so I don't have to change or code. Okay, this is what I like about using okay, there's no element as h1 or supposed to be h2. Using a code, you don't have to stress yourself coding everything again from scratch. You can just easily copy and paste. So now that we have done this, we've succeeded in what? Creating this. Hello world, welcome to my website. I want to create this sign up bar which we have here. And how would I do that? All I have to do, come here below it. So div. Okay, so you didn't put, you have to put opening. You can see now I detected it that it has detected that I want to create something. Come here, write div. So this is a type of container. Now there are others. We have sections, but section is not actually good. It's just like creating different sections. We have even templates, centers, different. But I like using div. You work with what you prefer and what you know. And but majorly, what websites are there, they even games, they make use of div. Div is the most commonly used container form of wrapper we have. So inside this div is where I'm now going to be putting, because what I want to do, I want to create an input. You can see where I can just come here and write my name. I can come here and write my name. I can come here and put in some kind of password. Then I'll submit a button. So you can see the button is at the right side, close to the ending, and the input are at the middle. So to move all this individually will take a lot of code. Let me no, we're going to create an input element. Input. Okay. Now what is going on here? You can see though we added this, it's supposed to complete it by saying / input bar. So in this case for inputs, it doesn't work that way because they are meta elements. There are different type of elements compared to the others. So this is just how it is. You don't expect to now be putting / then writing input again. This is just how I give it. So now we're creating inputs. What type of input is this? Is it the type of input that when you click on it, it's going to work by in image by default? Is it a type of input that I know that some inputs you click on, the only text that are going to show on your device is numbers, no text, not like A, B, C, just numbers. Is it the type of input? Is it a number input? Is it a text? Is it a name? Is it an image? Is it just like that? So we're going to say type. We're going to say text. So that's one thing. We're actually giving it a property. Now this is not styling. No, this is just a property. It is. Now we'll continue. We're going to say placeholder. Okay, let's take a look at it. Let me create, copy and paste text, because we had to, you can see we have two inputs right now. So I want to move this thing downward. To do this, I will have to now be, if it wasn't inside, okay, if it wasn't inside this before, I will have to now be moving this individually. Now I will now be saying something like input, then remember to move something in the x or the y direction. Firstly, for it to work, you have to activate it by saying position. So is this kind of, do we want to be relative or absolute? I want it to be absolute, so that the reasons, because let's say for some reason our, if we are to say relative, for some reason this hello world, welcome to my website, change position, this input is going to, you are going to see jumping around, like change it as well. It's going to change according to maybe some, maybe some element that was in position 10 disappeared. Every element will have to adjust. So the one that was 11 will have to go back to 10. All of them will adjust like that. You will not be seeing some kind of moves. I want it to be like in a fixed position. That is absolute. So I'm going to choose absolute. Then I'm going to say top, from the top, give 250. From the size of your screen, it will be 250 like this. You can choose whatever number you have and play around with it. Then let's say left 60 pixel. Remember to have pixel. So wow. Let me increase this by saying 350. 350. Now, wait, hold on a minute. We created two inputs, but right now we are only seeing one. What's going on? Let me get rid of this guy. You can see the two inputs showing. For clearer view, let's add a placeholder, because if you check right here, you can actually see inside of the input you have enter your name, enter your password. Let's write that. To do that, we have to indicate by saying placeholder. That's a placeholder, that's a keyword. So go to write whatever you want, enter your name, whatever you write, you can write whatever you want. It's going to show, enter your name. Same goes for here, placeholder, enter your password, enter your name, enter your password. So you can see enter your name, enter your password. But let me redo that again. I didn't delete the, so remember it's still there. But let me now add let me add the styling by saying input, just as we've been doing it before, body h3 h2. You see, we're going to have only one, enter your password, which was the last one, laying above. Now I'll show you still the two elements are here, but what's going on is that the last element is laying above the previous. Why? We are saying that let all elements, so we are telling the CSS that look into our body element, search for any element that has the name input. So all input elements, if there are 100 of them, as long as the name is input, place every one of them in this position, fixed. Place it to be fixed in this position. Absolute, let it be in this, absolutely in this position. It shouldn't be one after relatively. Assuming, let's change this to relative. Yes, will help you to understand the difference between relative and absolute. You can see it's showing right now relatively to each other. Enter your name, enter your password. But if we are to change this to absolute, because it's good you know this, so that when you are writing your code, you won't be wondering what happened to what's happening. This is, you're not dealing with JavaScript, and this is just pure simple HTML and CSS. You can see it's showing just for, you're saying absolute. So okay, doesn't mean alright, okay, I think I should use a relative. It's still going to give you that, those things you are trying to avoid in the first place of dropping around. Now I want to make use of absolute, not relative, but I don't want this all my input element to be in just one line. How can I fix this? This is where giving each element their different identity is. It's just like putting different labels on the same product. You have the same product, like you have different cars, different cars, type product of cars. You can see despite how very familiar and in the same structure of designing they all look, they all have their different plate numbers, they all have their one different things. So you can say that's my father's car. I say no, this it's not your father's car. Look at it, there's a difference. So that is it. We want to create an identity, something you can use to identify. You can see this is the one I want. So when you want to tell the CSS to style that element, you're not going to give it an input uh, element as we have here. So rather, you're going to give it the name of that identity you give to him, or something can use identify it as my name. Rather than saying password, I'm going to say my name. So my name, right? We It's not going to work. It's still not going to work, even though we have password. It's still not going to work. Why? Because we've succeeded in telling the we've tell remember we are telling the CSS to give this styling property to an element that have this identity inside our website. But if you look at our website, inside the body we have h3, h2, input type, text, placeholder, send, enter my name, just like that. There's no element that carries the identity, the name, my name. I don't feel that. So that's the concept. There's no element inside of it that bears that identity of my name. We have to give, so it's as if it doesn't exist. To make it exist, we have to give this element an ID. So the keyword there is ID. So that's how to add. It's an attribute. So to add an attribute, you say equal to and double quote. So can I just rewrite it again? ID can say change attribute ID. So what label you want to place on it is going to be my name. My name. So we're going to do the same thing for the same thing for the password. I'm going to say my password. My password. So let's run this. It's still not going to work. Why? What is going on? Now the reason why this is not working is because though we've given them their individual identity, their ID, we are telling the CSS that there's an element that carries this identity called my name. So give it this type of styling. Now is we have not completed the information we ought to have given to CSS. We are telling it that this is an element, and if you by default, the way the text editor, every text editor how they are created, there is no element named my name. So we have to tell it that this is an ID, or if it's a class, you can put it under a class. If it's a class, you say dot. See the color change. If it's an ID, you say hash. So for this case, because it's an ID, we gave it, not a class. Okay, let me just change this to class for demonstration so I can know this class. Now if you run this, it's going to work. For you can see now, enter your name and move downwards. So now only enter your name is moving. Now let's copy and paste this. Let's put enter my password. Now it's not still going to work with my password because my password is not what was going to is not an ID. It's a class, and we are specifying it up here that it is a what ID, because hash is for ID and dot is for class. So we have to correct that by saying dot. So now it's going to work. Oh, it's work, but we're saying it should be the same place. Let's change the values, because right here, if you see, we're saying position absolute, and we're saying top 350. We're putting it the same line. Let's increase this to 380. So you can see that enter your name, enter your password. Now this is already looking nice, but you can see how we begin to move them individually. So that was just to teach us about the concept of ID. So let's increase this by saying 30, 30, and rather than say absolute, let's say relative, not relatively, relative. So if we run this, now it's looking a little bit better. Now rather than moving them individually, we're going to put them inside a container like we said before. So rather than moving them separately, if imagine there was a lot of input, like up to like 10, most coding them individually will be a very boring thing to do. Rather than moving them individually, we'll just come here and copy and paste, move the div by saying let the div be absolute. So it is the div that is going to have the property of absolute rather than relative. So it's going to be 350, then 0, no 10. Let me give it 10. Now I want to give this a width. I want it to have a width of, I know it has some default width, but I want to just give it a width of 350 pixel or 340 pixel. Then height. Okay, let me leave the height. For height, let me give it a height of let's say 200 pixel. Then a color, so we can actually see what's going on. Background color. Click. Let's say green. So you can see it's already, our website already starting to look like what we have, except from the color. You can, okay, I think let me correct this to 250 rather than say 350. 250. Now it's already starting to resemble. Hello world, welcome to my website. We're going to create a button. Hello world, welcome to my website. Let me quickly add that. Okay. Hello world, welcome to my website. So lessons, rather than just putting it cleanly, we're going to put something called a keyword called RGB, which stands for red, green, and blue. So we're going to put a bracket here, and we're going to say for red, let it be 50. For green, let it be 150. While for red and blue, let it be 100. Now this should work like this. Now is what we is look same. It's good you have add a space after each comma, so you can for easier visualization. So now we are done with in the case of this. But one thing I want to do, imagine if we are to have another div. You see, we are going to be having the same issue as when we did in the inputs. Everything is going to be on the same place. So to avoid that, I want to give this div an ID. So when I want to move only this div, I'm going to move it based on the ID. So an ID of, I prefer using ID than class. So in that let me change this to ID. Okay, I'll come here and change this to hash rather than dot for it to work. Let's see, it still works. So let me give it an ID of say sign up div, and you can name it anything you want. Is your choice, but I'm going to use the capital letter for the first word in the div. If I say, because we're going to be adding JavaScript to this later, just so like I was saying, we are going to, now after giving it an ID, if we are to run this, it won't work anymore, because okay, it actually did work, because sign up is still a div, but it's not a good, if I were to create another div, everything is still going to be in line in the same place. So it's best we give it the name we assign to it, sign up div. Now remember, it's not going to work because like this is an, you are saying it's an element which does not exist. So it's telling that it's an ID. So now it still work as expected. Wonderful. So the next one we're going to be creating is a button. A button. We're going to be putting in a button. Now we're going to say submit. Give it a text. If you look at it right now, the way it is, um, it actually exists, but you won't see it because in the button you didn't create any text on it. But the moment you are writing between this greater than, less than block, give it a word like submit, submit. You see, it's going to show. Now it's showing behind at the top. Now we're going to be moving it later. Now to move it, I don't want to specify or generalize, you see, like all buttons. No, I want each thing I'm going to be moving each element to have their own identities. So I'm going to say, give it an idea of what. Let's say submit button. The first word of the next different word, the first letter of the next word capitalized. It's just a common habit to get used to. The reason because probably we're going to be later on, we're going to be adding JavaScript. Even though you leave it to be small letter, it's still going to work. But it's good you are familiar with this, because when you are coding with JavaScript, there are some keywords that you might forget the order. You might, like when using create document or create element, in creating element you might want to use in the next word add append charge. Now class, add layer, class list. Now this different word, the next word of the first letter of the next word are always uppercase, which is a capital letter. And if you don't do that, it's not going to work. So if you are familiar with this habit that the JavaScript make use of uppercase letter for the first letter of the next word, you are good to go. So this is the identity we're going to the button. Now let's move this. We're going to give it a styling of see, add the name, specify submit button. So give it a styling of what we're going to do now is position. Now if I don't want to say absolute here because it is inside the container. Now if I'm to say absolute, it's going to start from the very top. You get that? Now the distance figure I'm going to be putting at the top is going to be very high, like 400 pixel. Now I don't want that. But if I was to say relative, it's going to move relatively from the top of his container rather than the top of your screen. So I'm going to say relative. And why it's good to use relative? It means that if for any reason this container is going to move, the button is always going to be the same. It's going to move according to its container in respect to where it is. But if you have to say fixed, let's say fixed for instance. Let's say absolute for instance, so just to better them understand. Let's say now top is going to be 400 pixel, and the left is let's say 260 pixel. Let's see how that looks. 260 pixel. Wow, 400 is way too much. Way too much. 350 pixel. Wow, 350 is too much. 250 pixel. What's going on? Say too much. 180 pixel. Okay, let me still reduce it by 160 pixel. Now like this, we can see we are done, right? It looks exactly like okay, everything is looking nice, right? except for some. When you look at something now, there's one thing I want to quickly correct. Let me say, okay, you see, okay, we'll talk about that later. Now you can see we are done. Everything is looking like the other, right? It's looking nice, but it's not really. This is not the best way to do it, because what I mean by if jumping out, let's say this body is to move. Remember, we gave the styling, we gave position, style, property we give to this button is absolute. Let it be absolute. This absolute position. If for any reason this body, the container of which we have the input is to move, which you are seeing that is the button, for good to work with it, it's best we use relative in respect to this button. Relative. Now I'm going to say the top is no longer is going to be say 150, 150, then let's say 70. Oh wait, relative. Okay. Okay. Where did that go? 70. Oh, not 170, 70. So now this we can see we are done. And if this video was very helpful, just drop your comment below. If there's anything you don't understand, let me know. Drop it in the comment below. Now we're going to be posting more videos. See you at the next video. Please stay someone, share someone. For those who are yet to come online, who are needed that to know that we started this class online. We are going to meet physically in this semester once, but for now it's online. Please let them know. So this video was helpful. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and more information is going to be coming here. And I'm also going to be dropping some like practical work exercise we're going to use to get familiarized, to help us master these things and understand what we've learned so far. The next video is going to be about the external styling. So have fun and a nice day.